What's going on, guys? Big Mike D717. I'm back with you here with another video. So we're going to be on the garage since it is the off season, but quick, I want to say hopefully everybody had a very happy Thanksgiving. And yeah, I hope you got to enjoy it with your family or enjoy it with friends and family and those that you love for the holiday. So now rolling into the off season, first off, I want to say the turbo bike, we are still waiting to get the swing arm powder coated. That's kind of on me. I'm trying to find a good shop that's around my area. The pink bike, we have a rebuild kit for the master cylinder. I think that's what's been causing all of our problems for the clutch, because that master sat dry for a very long time. You still use the clutch to start the bike. You would use the clutch for the two-step. So part of me, I'm thinking that the O-rings are shot in that master. Now, it does have pressure, but it's not like what's on any of the other bikes. All of my other hydraulic clutch or master cylinders on any of my bikes are a lot stiffer than that. So I'm thinking that it was enough to separate the plates, enough, like just a little bit. But I noticed that if you pull the clutch in the whole way, the plates would close up just a little bit after you maxed out the plunger. So I'm thinking that an O-ring might be shot and it's not able to hold the correct amount of pressure. So we're going to rebuild it and pretty much just call it with that. We're going to rebuild the master. I'll probably test out the clutch again. We won't be able to go to the racetrack, but I can take it around the block a few times. We are going to be looking into possibly doing a clutch in that bike. If not, it will stay a hand clutch because it wasn't too bad. As long as I can get the feel down, I think this will be a lot easier to run a hand clutch because of it being a longer wheelbase than what the turbo bike was last year. So pink bike's pretty good. We did get this. Well, actually, I'll have to... Me and my dad went out and picked this up, which surprisingly was free. It is a 2004 Suzuki Intruder, 800cc V-twin. My dad wants to do a little bobber project. And again, like I said, we got it for free. It ran when it was put away, but we have to get a new battery because battery was fried. I tried putting on the charger for like a day and a half and it didn't hold any charge. So we're going to go ahead and get a new battery in it. I already went through and checked the air box. The air filter is pretty much brand new and clean. We'll have to check the carburetors on it, but went ahead, put a little bit of fresh fuel in it. And then we also did a little bit of kind of like a stabilizer, but also a cleaner for the carburetor. So we're going to go ahead and work on this project at some point here on the channel. But again, free bike, something to tinker with. It is shaft drive carbureted V-twin, so a little bit that we can mess with. But now on to the main project here. So we're going to start working on the RD project. So anybody that's new to the channel, it's a 1974 Yamaha RD250C. We traded my old quad to my buddy Payson in exchange for this bike. It is in pieces, but this should be a very nice little project. So anybody that isn't familiar with what these bikes were, it is a two-stroke parallel twin street bike. So these usually have a oil pump, so it is a oil injected two-stroke instead of having to do a premix. But unfortunately, because on these it uses a plastic gear, because the original, it's in these parts somewhere, there is the original pump. It might be in one of the boxes. The original oil pump goes behind this cover. It does have a plastic gear. So that gear is kind of faulty to me. I don't understand why you would put a plastic gear on something that dire. So usually those gears go out, the oil injection stops, you lock your motor up because it'll fry the pistons. So this bike is going to be running on premix. My buddy put a pretty good bit of work into it, so it was a pretty decent trade to actually do the ATV for it. But we're going to start working on getting it put back together. So you can see the wheel up there. It's not white wall. We taped it off. We're pretty much going to work on today to hopefully have this as a rolling chassis. I'm going to try to get the center stand underneath it because unfortunately right now there is no kickstand. And I'm just going to have to play around with hopefully getting this thing up, so that way we can work on getting it running, because the exhaust goes underneath the bike. So I can't put the exhaust on until it's up off the ground. Now, I mean, I could put blocks underneath it, get everything running, but we're going to just try to get a little bit of paint on the wheels, so that way it actually looks decent, because it is a primer, self-edge primer right now. But we're going to go ahead and try and get this thing up and running, well, at least on its own feet, I guess. It didn't go too bad on here. I mean, it's semi-gloss, so, I mean, this will be a little bit better than looking at the kind of green self-etch. But it's something. We're making progress. All right, guys. Well, the wheels are painted. They're drying. When I sprayed them outside, it's a little cold out today, but they were in the sun, kind of baking a little bit, but I brought them in. The heat's on in the garage, so they're going to be sitting here drying. But I did think of an interesting concept for the bike. Now, everybody knows I wanted to do a cafe racer. Well, I joined a forum. Come on, camera, focus with me here. And a lot of guys do full restos. Make them look like they came off the showroom floor, fresh paint, OEM, like original motor, they make them pristine. Why don't we go away from that and do a Rat Rod RD250? Make it run like it's supposed to, which, I mean, it's going to run better because Payson did carburetor work. It's got a fresh top end. The bottom end's been inspected. Everything's good. It's got a DG race exhaust that we're going to put on it. It has these piggyback shocks on the rear. It's got rebuilt front forks. The thing's going to run great, but why don't we make it look like I just drug it out of the freaking junkyard in the middle of central Pennsylvania? I think this might be an interesting concept, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but I think we can make this happen. Well, this might not have started off very well. So I was just double checking the schematics to see the assembly procedure because of the speed, or what goes to your speedo and all these extra parts. Because again, I didn't disassemble these, so I wasn't 100% sure on how they all went back together. So I was trying to just do my research and look at everything. And I mean, this has the correct one, because you can see RD250, 73 to 75. And these do not work. These bearings are too small to pass through the axle. So you can see that it starts, but it stops right there on that collar. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research here. So we might not be getting very far in today's video, but at least we got the bike painted. So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But I'm going to have to try to figure out. The other part, too, is these bearings honestly really don't even fit. As far as I know, the bearing should sit under here, and then should be a couple other pieces, and then the speed sensor just sits right on top. So there'll be a little bit of a collar. Pretty sure there's a dust shield that goes in there, and then that should sit right there. And I cannot do that. I'm actually pretty sure this is what sits there. Yeah, that should fit right on top of there and be good. But yeah, these two bearings here, no bueno. This one here, I'm still pretty sure this is for back here, because it does fit that axle, but not. So everything's cleaned up, ready to go. So I'm just going to double check and go over all the brake parts. I think the only bearing that we might have to do, which I might throw this in the freezer just so I can get it to go in without having to do a ton of hammering, is this bearing just needs to go in here. That should be about it. But yeah, apply a little bit of heat to this, freeze the bearing, and I think we'll be pretty good to go. Well, guys, a quick little tip, because earlier I was pushing on these, they didn't want to go in. But I guess because I pulled this one out and put it in, a little bit of grease, and the cush drive's in. So next we got to do, try and get my bearing in. And I actually just went out and grabbed my tool. We got a big C-clip that goes in here, right in that lip to hold the bearing in. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. I got my C-clip tool. Yep. There we go. C-clip holding the bearing in. Kind of like hub spacer here. There's that. There's our dust shield. All right, guys, well, a couple days later, because I just ran into some stuff. I had family up for Thanksgiving, so I was hanging out with them for the past couple days, pretty much. So Payson found some parts for us. So here is the hub, which flips the other way, but this is what the brake attaches to. We have a side cover, which I was about to order on not Marketplace, off eBay, but Payson found it. So this is the left side cover that goes over the sprocket and the stator, or the CDI. We also have the chain guard, the kickstand, because I actually found out from Payson that the center stand will not work with the DG exhaust. So luckily he did find that, so we can get everything set up over here. But we did get the rear wheel all done, ready to go. So I think we're going to work on trying to get this mounted up on the bike and at least have the rear wheel, and hopefully maybe I can tinker with it and get the rear brake on. Oh, yep, that's what I forgot. Our axle adjusters. Thought there was something, couldn't think of it. So there are two different sizes. One has a bigger hole than the other. So bigger hole goes on drive side, smaller hole goes on brake side. I thought something wasn't lining up quite right. There we go. Now everything seems snug. Like a glove, like a glove. All right, I just need the nut that goes on the cush drive, and then compound that right on top with the axle nut, which is up there. It's on the workbench. I'll be damned. There we go, boys. She's got a rear wheel at least. All right, guys, quick time lapse. So we went ahead, like I said too, with some of this stuff is, a lot of this stuff can be redone at some point, but this is just doing with what I have. So your adjuster, your spring, went ahead and we got the, wrong bar. We went ahead and got the linkage for the brake hooked up here, or at least for the brake stop. So that holds on here to the bottom of the drum. But went ahead and kind of did our slack adjustment. I do have to get a cotter pin for the back side of this pin here. But we have a rear brake. So honestly, to me, that's a great way to end this. So we got some pretty good progress. All right, guys, well, that's going to end our video. I pretty much went further on the rear end than I planned, but mostly because that front end gave us so many problems and having the incorrect wheel bearings. But we have it mounted. We have the brake done. We have everything working the way that it should. So I'm happy. We got further on the rear end than I planned. So, yeah. I'm just going to end it there. So, like I said, guys, if there's anything you want to know more about the bike, more about the channel, drop those comments down below if you want to know more about this project, or if you can help me with this project, because if you happen to know where I can find better parts or things to more refurbish this project. But again, drop those comments because I want to know if we want to stick with the rat rod theme. Now, a lot of the parts on this, like I said, they've seen better days. So doing the rat rod project would basically just mean all we have to do is just keep them as is, just make them all functional, and the bike's going to be up and running a lot quicker than doing a full restore. And I honestly kind of want to see this thing on the road. So I'd be pretty hyped to have a rat rod bike, especially after seeing so many people that do cafe, like perfect cafe builds. I've seen some very nice cafe builds, but then doing full restorations. So what's going to happen when we have one that looks like it sat in the junkyard for the last, what is that now, 74, almost 50 years. So, all right, guys, drop those comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys next one. Remember, ride safe, ride smart, always wear a helmet. See ya.